Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Genos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. My name is Nate Groot Nibbling. I'm the creator of Apples and Genos, originator of the Zero G Draft Strategy. And in this podcast, Blake and I are going to talk about the biggest hot shots and have nots of the last couple of weeks, maybe play a little Would You Rather. Let's get it. And of course, I have your friend and my best friend, my accomplice in catharsis, Blake Creamer. Blake, how are you doing tonight?
I've been better, my man. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, overall in life, I'm very happy. Okay, that feels good. But for fantasy hockey, man, this has been just a kick in the jewels this week. It's I got 4 playoffs going on right now, and I'm gonna lose. I'm losing 2 of them for sure, and I'm probably gonna lose a third one. This is like, God damn it. You work hard all year, and then you get one of the most garbage streaming weeks right at the first week of your playoffs, and you're kind of stuck, aren't you? I've got just guys didn't perform this week, and it's really frustrating. I know a lot of you out there in the Discord, our listeners, you know what I'm talking about, right? We had a great season here in a lot of spots, and it all comes down to 1 week, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. So I'm a little salty, but I'm going to push past that. You might see an even sadder Blake here, or a happier Blake, depending on the score to the Carolina Anaheim game or the Vegas Lightning game. I could get a dub if things go my way, but it just hasn't been that kind of week. I don't know, buddy. What are you doing? I'm sorry about this.
Yeah, don't be sorry. Sometimes that is the way the cookie crumbles. We work all year, and then it is 1 week that decides it. The best we can do is put the chips on our side and push them in at the right time. But sometimes it doesn't go that way. Yeah, for myself, I have one that's in the bag, one that I'm gonna lose, and one that's still up in the air, depending on, unfortunately, Jeremy Swayman, my famous auto pick in the
I
Patron League.
love it. This is amazing.
So yeah, that one's still in the balance. Like it should happen, but I have no confidence that it will at this point because Swayman has been so bad for me this entire year,
I
and it
love that you held him
continued.
all year. You didn't even
Yeah,
care. You're like, whatever, I'm going down with the ship.
yeah. I was like, well, he's still getting starts. Like, anyway, that's that. We will get into a new week here shortly. And congrats to everyone who is in a similar boat and will have some stuff, some playoffs to worry about this week.
Yep.
That's what we're here for. We'll try to tailor some content towards you for this week as well. Before we get into the meat of the episode, there are some newsies that we should probably talk about. Off the top, Sean Monahan back for Monday for Columbus. This could not come at a better time for Columbus. We will talk about them a little bit more, but Monahan will center left one or line one and power play one immediately on his return based on practice lines. Yeah, that means bad things for Adam Fantilli stonks. I don't know.
Honky.
I just don't know what to say at this point. I think probably Fantilli is a hold through Monday. You get the off night, and then they don't play again. I think it's until Friday, if I remember correctly, which is just a long time to be thinking about hanging on to someone. Yeah, they play Monday off night, and then they play Friday, which is an off night, but you got to wait 3 days. You can probably use that roster spot better in the meantime. So that's probably the way I'm playing it in most spots. If you've got Fantilli on the roster, obviously depending on how that game goes as well, but that's probably the way to go. Canes update. Seth Jarvis did come back and play and is currently playing in this game against Anaheim. That's ongoing right now as we record. Andrei Svechnikov remains an enigma wrapped up in a mystery. We have no idea what's going on there, and we probably never will. Who knows if he'll ever play hockey again because Carolina will not tell us a damn thing. I don't know. It's just frustrating at
Yeah.
this point. You really have no idea if he could be back in the next game or if he's out long term. I don't know why that part, like, it's one thing to just not say what the injury is. It's another thing to just, like, have no idea what the timeline is or what anything we can plan for with fantasy. is going to be. Trevor Moore, day-to-day, missed the game here on Sunday with an upper body injury. Unfortunate there, but they did say it is just day-to-day. Doesn't sound like anything too major. Hopefully, Moore's back because Los Angeles does have a nice 4-game week for us this week. They play next on Tuesday against the Rangers, so hopefully Moore's back then. If not, then it would be Thursday against Colorado. That would be the next target. Thatcher Demko, first full practice, getting that in here on Sunday. Probably see him in action at some point this week. My best guess would be you're probably not practicing for the first time in full on Sunday and coming right back on Monday. But yeah, we probably get a Demko start at some point. Vancouver does have the 4 games for off nights this week, so Demko will be in play for sure when he does come back. Sticking with the Canucks, Elias Pettersson and Nils Höglander are both day-to-day, did not practice on Sunday, could potentially miss Monday at least with these undisclosed injuries here. Beyond that, it is a bit of anybody's guess, but you think that they'll try to get these guys back with the playoffs in the balance here, but it is a tough look, especially if you were counting on these guys for your start of the week off nights in some leagues. Lastly, Shea Theodore should be back soon. We haven't really gotten anything official here, but he's been, just going back through tweets, he's been in a regular jersey in team practice since March 19th. We're 4 days past that, 5 on Monday. Like, you have to imagine that he's still not playing in this game that's here on Sunday night, but you have to imagine that he's at least very close to a return. Vegas next plays Tuesday against Minnesota, so that would be my best guess for a return for Shea Theodore, but obviously keep your eyes and ears peeled for more information there. As soon as Theodore's back, Noah Hannafin is dead for all intents and purposes for me. What do you say, Blake? Are you still interested in Hannafin beyond that?
No. I mean, it's fine. You know, the team I have him on, I'm gonna be bounced out of the playoffs here today. So Jimmy crack corn, and I don't care. Thank you, Noah, for your service.
All right. With that being said, let's get into the meat of it here. Let's get into some hot shots. We got to start in St. Louis, where Jordan Kyrou, Dylan Holloway, Braden Shen doing the thing. Kyrou and company over there. Jordan Kyrou's got 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points in his last 5. Dylan Holloway, 2 goals, 7 assists for 9 points in his last 5. And then Shen's a little more pedestrian, 2 goals and 5 points in the 5 games here. Holloway's playing the most, actually, averaging just under 18 minutes. Kyrou's a little bit over 16. Shen's a little bit under 17. But Kyrou's got the best underlying stats by far. 8th in individual scoring chances for per 60 in this stretch is the number that stands out the most. Holloway's got some decent numbers. 72nd shots per 60, 157 individual scoring chances for per 60. Shen's in that range as well. 110 shots per 60, 111 individual scoring chances for per 60. What's your take on what we're seeing out of St. Louis at this stage here, Blake? It is kind of a bad scenario for St. Louis. 3 games, 0 off nights this week. If you make it to week 24, 3 games, 0 off nights again that week. And then even beyond that, it doesn't get much better. 4 games, 2 off nights in week 25 if you're playing till the end of the NHL schedule. They pretty much have I might be quite literally the worst. I think Boston has a similar schedule, but they're getting their 2-game week out of the way this week, and so realistically, St. Louis has just about the worst schedule in the entire league from here till the end of the regular season. So for your fantasy playoffs, that part hurts. But what do you do at this point with these guys? I feel like you gotta hang on to them at the moment while they're this hot. But guys like Holloway and Shen, they have been a little bit more on the periphery of your roster throughout the season, so you might feel some type of way about it for this week.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Kyrou, obviously we're a big fan of that player. We've talked about him lots of times here on the pod, but you have to look at what these 3 players are doing and St. Louis as a team in general. Like, this is a team, we've talked about this before, massively efficient, right? Like, digging in on some of their numbers here, expected goals for, like, 26 overall in the league, according to Jay Fresh and Patrick Bacon. 26 overall. Their actual goals for 15th, and they're actually 5th in the league in conversion. So they're doing the thing. They're doing it off massive efficiency, which is kind of a calling card of this team. But one thing that St. Louis has done really well this year under Jim Montgomery is, or since Jim Montgomery got there, their defense is improved massively. Their expected goals against is third in the league. So it's a good team, and they have a lot to play for, right? They're in the playoff picture currently, but when you look at the efficiency of these three players in particular, Kyrou over the last 5 games, he's shooting 23%, on ice shooting percentage almost 23%. Damn. Okay, obviously this line's popping off. They're all playing together. Dylan Holloway, he's shooting 15%, and Braden Shen is shooting 18%. So those are all likely to go down. So it's risky bisky to me. I think you certainly want to hold Jordan Kyrou. I think he's the one that is going to be the most consistent of the two. Holloway is a beefer, so I really like that. Braden Shen to me is a kind of a replacement level player who's popping off at this point. He could just as easily go ice cold, 0 points in a bunch of games. So yeah, I'm with you there. I'm trying to hold Kyrou and Holloway, but as we get closer to, the ends of your week and stuff like that, these are the type of decisions you'll have to make. And to be honest, I drop all 3 of those guys, like pretty much without question. I don't think they're not in that realm where I'm like, I have to hold on to this guy no matter what. They're just not there for me. But obviously you got to, stay on the fire while it's hot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm trying to, unless I'm actually benching them right away on Tuesday, I'm probably hanging on to these guys where I've got them at least
Yeah.
through that Tuesday. Then, there becomes a lot of options. You can go back to the waiver wire episode, but I think it was 4 teams that you can have some options to go Wednesday, Friday off nights. And then at the end of the week, there's 8 teams with the Friday, Sunday off nights. So you could do a Tuesday, Thursday if you can get them in for both of those, and then go Friday, Sunday. Use a end of the week ad there to kind of maximize your games played at the same time, and especially if they start to cool down. We anticipate they will cool down, but it might not happen for a bit here. The underlying numbers do look pretty good, particularly for Kyrou. So, yeah, stay in the flames for the moment, but be ready with the trigger finger and don't feel like you have to hang on to them just because of what they've done for you in the past. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, we got to talk about here. 4 goals, 5 assists, 9 points in his last 5, finally doing something. I guess all it took is for Edmonton to lose their best 2 players, for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins to realize that he has to do something on this team as well. Over 18 and a half minutes average time on ice, 59 shots per 60, 51st individual scoring chances for per 60. I don't know where this was all season long, but how much can we trust the resurgence for RNH?
In terms of trusting we need to see a little bit more, but the situation lends itself to some extra production for RNH, in my opinion, right? If he's going to have to do it, there's no one else. It's RNH, it's Hyman. Obviously, Arvidsson and Skinner are going to play bigger roles, Bouchard, all these guys. And I think I love what I've seen. This guy just popped for a Hattie. That's amazing, right? And it was a massive game, 23 minutes. So I think with Draisaitl and McDavid out, I do think that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is really going to put the pedal to the metal and probably give us some production here. The problem is Edmonton, it's not a great schedule, right? As we've sort of detailed, in the past year. But next week, 3 games, 1 off night. They don't play until Wednesday. So, is Draisaitl back on Wednesday? Does RNH take a little bit of a hit, with Draisaitl back in the lineup? I do think it's really interesting. Guys like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who was a first overall pick in 2011. What would this guy look like on a different team where he's the guy? Because he just never was really on this team. He always had McDavid, always had, Draisaitl later on. It's just interesting to me when a guy like this, those 2 guys go out. He's been in the shadow for this whole time, playing a certain type of role, but now he's being asked to play offense, and comes up with a hat trick. 9 points in his last 4 games. Damn. I love to see it. It's just something I'm interested in. This is a very talented player, but he's pacing for 59 points or something like that this year. So not really relied on for his offense, but I do like it with McDavid and Draisaitl out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he wasn't technically the guy, but like he played over 20 minutes before Draisaitl was even drafted in a season. That was when like Taylor Hall, Jordan Eberle, those guys were still there.
Yep.
So maybe he wasn't necessarily the guy, but he was a guy for sure at some points there. I think RNH is what he is. He's a very good player, but he's never cracked the elite, and I don't think he really ever had that potential, to be quite honest. But it is good to see him stepping up in this situation and, really elevating the team. It is a weird week this week. They don't play till the Wednesday. Then, yeah, they play Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, which isn't great for your schedule. And then if you get through this week with RNH, then you come back week 24 and it's 3 games, 0 off nights there.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a bit of a tough spot. But that being said, underlines look good, putting up points at the moment. I'm not thinking of moving off them. Moving over to Utah, Nick Schmaltz and Logan Cooley have been making some sweet music together in the last little bit. 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points for Schmaltz in the last 5. Cooley has 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points, both over 18 minutes a night, both line 1 and power play 1. Schmaltz 137th in shots per 60, 46th in individual scoring chances 4 per 60. Cooley 81st in shots per 60, 137 in individual scoring chances 4 per 60, and both hanging around 100 range in on ice scoring chances 4 per 60. So, yeah, I think that both these guys are obvious adds for this week. Utah has a really great schedule this week. They have 3 off nights. They have the Monday off night, and then they go Thursday, Friday, Sunday at the back end of the week. If your league's not super sharp, then maybe you can even sneak in an early week stream, Monday, Tuesday, or Monday, Wednesday stream, and then go Thursday, Friday, Sunday with Schmaltz or somebody like that at the back end of the week. Really valuable players who are absolutely popping right now. Guys, I'm definitely you want to have on your roster at this moment in time. Is there anything more to be said about Utah right now, or is it just you're happy if you have them, and hopefully you're not facing them this week because of that great schedule?
Yeah, I think that's really it. There's not too much more to say. This is a great line. We got Schmaltz, we got Keller, who's elite in my opinion. Keller is he's a great player and he's just getting better and better. And then Cooley he's turned a corner, I feel like. And when you
Does
have
feel like
this,
that.
yeah, and coincides with him getting power play 1 again as well. Something that we're on the fence about. Does Hayton keep power play 1? I actually thought that because Cooley hadn't made it to power play 1 in such a long time, that maybe they liked what they saw from Hayton there, and that might be how they roll it moving forward. Well, shame on me. They put Logan Cooley out there on power play 1, and yeah, I think it's a great move. Obviously, we got an elite offensive player here, really young player, but he's definitely feeling his plums here. And yeah, it's just a nicely constructed line. Nick Schmaltz is a guy we love here at Apples and Ginos, and rightfully so. Like both Schmaltz and Cooley are amazing at driving offense, bringing the puck into the zone, setting up chances. Where something that's interesting too about Nick Schmaltz, he's been shooting a little bit more this year. Like he's an elite facilitator, setting up chances and shots for his teammates, but he's actually been at the end of some passes here. And I think, that kind of speaks to Logan Cooley's playmaking ability. And yeah, I love what Utah's bringing to the table. I think it's a slam dunk this week. Both these guys need to be rostered. We've been talking about Nick Schmaltz for a long time, and like I said, yeah, Cooley's turned a corner, and I think he's going to have a really nice end to the season here.
Yep. Totally agree with that. Let's move over to Montreal. Another pair of players to talk about here. Christian Dvorak popping off for 3 goals, 3 and 6 points in his last 5 after a pretty nondescript season to date. Patrick Laine has the same stat line, 3 goals, 6 points in his last 5 as well. Both skating around 15 minutes a night. Laine is 75th in shots per 60. Dvorak is 127. I mean, Laine's on the power play 1. Dvorak is on what I guess you would call the second line right now with Gallagher and Anderson. Do you have? Obviously, this is a deep cut with Dvorak if you're even thinking about it, but how desperate do you have to be? How deep does the league have to be where you're thinking about a guy in Montreal? Montreal has a good schedule this week, 4 games, 2 off nights. If you make it to week 24, another 4 games with 1 off night. So how deep does the league have to be for you to be interested in a guy like Christian Dvorak who, no power play 1, nothing like super enticing other than the fact that he's just really hot. It's a good schedule this week, and you want to see if he can stay in the Flames there. Is there anything there with Dvorak, and do you think Laine can keep something up here to finish out the season?
How deep a league? Very deep. So freaking deep. Oh my God, no. But it's great. It's awesome that Dvorak's popping off, but keep in mind there's a 4-point game in there, right? So that's sort of skewing what we're looking at here. When you dig in on the metrics on Dvorak, right? They're not terrible, right? But they're middling. Like his shot and Corsi for, that's fine, but he's not getting a lot of chances, and his line is certainly not getting any chances or shot attempts. So I'm not interested in Dvorak. Like 86% IPP in the last 5 games, 33% shooting. No, buddy, those are going to go down. But Laine, I'm definitely interested in. I think at this point of the season with Montreal, he's kind of a specialist. He's just an offensive specialist, which he always sort of is, but he's received more ice time in the past. Right now, last 5 games, he's averaging 15 minutes. That's fine, I guess. That'll do, right? But he's great on the power play. I like Montreal's power play. I think that this is a player that is going to really do some stuff for you moving forward. He is running hot for sure, but I think his production on that power play is not really going anywhere. And I think that moving forward, like I'm even thinking into next year with Patrick Laine, I do think there's some value here, but we need to see what his true role is on the Montreal Canadiens. Like, is he going to be this 14 to 16 minute guy? Because if that's the case, like I'm not so interested. I think he becomes like a 45, maybe 50 point player. But if they're going to give him some actual minutes, we're looking at a 60 to 70 point player, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'm happy with Laine. If he's out there, I think he's absolutely rosterable and probably should be rostered for this upcoming week.
Yeah, tend to agree there. Yeah, it has to be a pretty deep league to consider Dvorak, but this is the time of year to consider things like that where,
Yep.
Jake Evans had this streak for Montreal a while ago and it lasted like 2 or 3 weeks, right?
Yep.
Like, it's not incredible to think that Christian Dvorak could just be hot for a little bit here and maybe even get a little bit more ice time, make something happen. Yeah, probably a deeper league, at least 14, maybe 16 teams before you're really thinking about it. But you could probably do worse in some of those super deep leagues. Lastly, here, Tony DeAngelo. I know you don't want to talk about him anymore, Blake, but I kind of felt we had to. He's got 5 assists in the last 5 games, over 23 minutes a night, 30th shots per 60, 40th individual scoring chances for per 60, 13th in on ice scoring chances for per 60. Tony D, if you need some extra defense this week, they do play 4 games this week, the Islanders. They have 3 off nights as well, so he fits in every lineup. I don't know if you want to say too much here, Blake. I know it pains you physically to do so, but I think we have to say that Tony D is an option in just about every league this week.
He wants the D, that vitamin D. All right. Tony DeAngelo is a perfectly bronzed man. All right. He goes out, he gets that vitamin D, he coiffs his hair, the collar straight up. Hey, Tony, what do you got to say? He's loving life over there on the island. Buddy's getting power play 1 with Dobie. They're playing 2 defensemen on the power play. So, full disclosure, I picked up Tony DeAngelo on a spot.
He did it.
I did it. I had to do it because what the hell? I mean, yeah, if he's going to get this kind of deployment, he's a good offensive player. There's no question. He's an absolute dingus. We know this, all right? This guy needs a personality adjustment or just a personality in general, right? Someone needs to step in here, but the guy knows how to play hockey. Let's admit that. I love the minutes. So, yeah, it's a schedule play for me. It's a guy that's going to be probably readily available out there. And I don't really see that power play 1 going away at this point. They've been having a little bit of success there. So I'm into it. I'm into Tony D. But after this week, I'm going to punt this man into the sun as hard as I can. I'm going to give him a swift shoe in the rear end. Tony, get the hell out of my sight, buddy. You're on notice. All right, let's move on.
All right, let's move along to the Patreon discussion. $2 a month gets you access to Patreon live shows. One more coming up in April here. $8 a month gets you access to those live shows, but also access to Patreon Discord channels, my show notes for the Flagship show and the Waiver Wire show, and also gets you access to the Appleton Junos player evaluation tool, which is a great way to help you make all of these crucial decisions in the playoffs here. For the true degenerates, $15 a month gets you the Genos here, all the previous perks mentioned, plus I will personally guarantee an answer to every single one of your questions. And I also want to mention while we're here that we have a listener survey that is up and going to be linked in the episode description here. So get in there and let us know what you thought of the content this year. We're always looking for more suggestions. We've had some really great suggestions, some stuff that I think we are going to implement going into next year, going into the off season here. So I am always open to hearing feedback on the podcast, ideally constructive feedback, but if you want to hurt our feelings, I can't stop you, so you can get in there and do that as well. I'm gonna keep doing this every time we talk about the survey, but one of the pieces of feedback we have a question there. What was your favorite moment from the podcast? The answer was, I think the running joke of fair enough and the way you guys have become so sarcastically dismissive with it. Can't think of the episode, but it's hilarious whenever it comes up. I threw that in there in the last episode just because of that. I hope that it was well received yet again. Love to have feedback like that. We love to hear that, like, our insanity is actually being well received on the other side. Sometimes we ask ourselves, are we are we driving people away with this, or are
I'm
people
yeah.
actually listening to this and getting a kick out of it? So it's good to get that feedback.
I'm always surprised by it, honestly. Like, because sometimes I'll say some random thing, or you will, and like someone remembers that random thing, and I don't even think about it again. So even like
Yeah,
that, fair enough. That's kind of funny.
yeah. All right, let's move along. Have nots. We got to talk about all these Columbus players: Kirill Marchenko,
Ah,
Adam
God.
Fantilli, Dmitry Voronkov, Zach Werenski. 0 points between them. All four guys in the last 5 games for Columbus. Just unbelievable stuff, especially considering how they were going before. I mean, Marchenko's over 19 minutes a game, Fantilli over 18, Vronkov's at 16 and a half, Werenski's a bit over 28 minutes a game
Yeah.
in this stretch. And quite honestly, like, the underlying numbers don't look that bad. Marchenko's 22nd in shot attempts per 60, having a bit rougher time actually making those hit the net. Fantilli's at 34th in shot attempts per 60. Voronkov's got the most actual shots per 60 at 75th. Um, Vronkov's fifth in on ice Corsi 4 per 60, fourth in on ice Corsi 4 per 60 for Marchenko. Like, the underlying numbers are looking really good here. Werenski's just doing Werenski things, second in shots per 60, second in shot attempts per 60, 11th individual scoring chances 4 per 60, first on ice Corsi 4 per 60, second on ice scoring chances 4 per 60.
Mhm.
Yeah, just continuing his absolute dominance this season, but not being rewarded for it. And we have talked about it. These guys were probably overproducing. The on ice shooting percentages were pretty high. That's kind of regressed to the point where I feel like that's all kind of built in at this point. And I do think that these guys should see a rebound. Fantilli, the one that you obviously feel like will be toughest for him to rebound now that he's kind of getting the demotion there off the top power play, off the top line. But that also should mean that we get a bit of a boost for Kent Johnson and Boone Jenner on the second line, I would think, right? Like, we can also view it that way because I do think Fantilli is still a terrific player and hasn't really been playing that bad.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them have really been playing that bad, especially in that game against Pittsburgh where they went off and just couldn't solve Nedeljkovic of all goalies. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just think it's kind of a weird spot, but I do think that they should bounce back sooner rather than later. That's my take. It is kind of a weird schedule. As we mentioned, Columbus has the Monday off night here, but then they don't play again till Friday. So I do think that, you know, like, I have Ronkov in one spot. I might just drop him right away after Monday, and then if I get him back on Friday, maybe I will, but maybe I won't, and I'm not gonna really lose sleep over that. Feel the same way about Fantilli. Marchenko might be at a tier, just given the season-long output, where I might hang on to him through it all. Werenski, obviously, you're hanging on to. There's no question there. So give me your temperature, what kind of decisions you might be making on some of these guys. You're probably getting the Monday from all of them, but after that, would you be considering moving off of any or all?
Yeah, I think that's you nailed it there. I think Fantilli and Voronkov are players on the bubble for me, and it's not because they haven't had great seasons. It's strictly scheduled plays at this point,
Yeah.
right? We got week 23; they only have 3 games, right? And so you got the Monday game. I have Voronkov in a spot. I'm probably going to drop if I need to, right? Like, it's just I think he's next up for me in terms of drops because first off, like, I think he was bounced down to power play 2 at that point as well. Like, Veronkov's playing power play 2. Their line isn't going. We got, Monahan coming back off injury. Like, I'm not exactly sure how things are going to go. But yeah, Fantilli and Voronkov to me are on the bubble. Marchenko is a hold. Werenski, he's gonna be back, right? It's been a slog here, 0 points in 5, but the metrics are insane. This guy's on an 83-point pace. He's elite. He's Norris Trophy level elite. He's one of them. So it's just horrible timing too. Like, I just feel like the magic is worn off in Columbus there, and it's rough to see. Again, this is a team similar to St. Louis, only even a bit more extreme, right?
Yeah.
Their finishing is ridiculous. Like, they're third overall in the league in 5-on-5 shooting percentage. they've just been going off. At one point, Marchenko, Monahan, and Voronkov was the top line in the league, the most efficient line in the league. I'm not sure if that's still the case. That was, maybe a month ago. But yeah, things have fallen off. Anyways, yeah, it's going to be hard for me to get rid of Voronkov. He's been with me for a long time, but I've already dropped Fantilli in a spot just to, pick up a player with more games and maybe a bit more opportunities. So we'll see. I really hope, just as a hockey fan, that the Columbus Blue Jackets can figure it out, get on a little streak here, and get themselves into the playoffs. I think that would just be so epic for this season.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree with all of that. Let's head over to New Jersey. Dawson Mercer here. We talked about Mercer in the waiver wire show because of New Jersey's schedule this week. As a quick refresher, they go Monday, Wednesday, Friday off nights before also playing on the Saturday heavy night. So at least at the beginning of the week, you're getting a lot of play from a guy like Mercer. He's on the top power play at the moment. Yeah, good spot for Dawson Mercer theoretically. Just over 17 and a half minutes average time on ice, 259 shots per 60, 129th individual scoring chances for per 60, 232 Corsi for per 60, 102 on ice scoring chances for per 60. Mercer, you could throw Stefan Nason in here. We talked about him as well. These are the guys that we're kind of counting on as like the stream of the week to like save our season or like be the guy. And it's really tough to trust a guy who's getting absolutely nothing done, even if he is getting the deployment. Which way are you leaning with a guy like Mercer? Are you trusting the deployment, or are you trying to find somebody else who might actually be doing the act of scoring a little bit more regularly, at least recently?
Yeah. I think, it's an opportunity play. That's it. And that's always been the case with Dawson Mercer. This is a guy that I talked about in the offseason as a player of interest. And it wasn't because of the metrics, right? It was because of the potential of him playing top six and power play one in New Jersey, right? So it just hasn't happened. This guy's definitely had a down year. What's he pacing for? 32 points. Oh my God. Oh my God. Dawson, what do you say? It ain't so, my man. New Jersey should be an absolute wagon, and they're just not, right? It's obviously with the injuries they have, they're kind of limping through to the finish line here. But yeah, nothing under the hood is screaming production to me with Dawson Mercer. So it doesn't feel good as a pickup. Like, yeah, with the 4-3 schedule here this upcoming week, I think he should be rostered, but it's kind of a wing and a prayer. I think there are better options. I'd rather have Stefan Nason. I know that you and I have had that conversation. I'd rather have Stefan Nason over Dawson Mercer, even though Dawson Mercer is getting power play one. I think Stefan Nason is a safer pick and it generates more offensively just on his own, right? Even 5-on-5. But that said, yeah, power play one, Dawson Mercer, that can pop off at any time. He can get a couple of second assists. Timo Meyer's looking pretty damn good here as of late. And it's just, yeah, it's a slog. New Jersey is they're in trouble. Did you see that Sheldon Keefe interview? Where why did he rip Kovacevic like that? I didn't think what Kovacevic said was so bad, but like Keefe is just like, you should play better, and then he leaves the podium. Like, are you okay, my man? Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, that's a rough look from the coach for sure. Especially, like in a time where you're like trying to get the team to band together without two of their top players, and you got to rip your second pair defenseman.
I don't get
in
it.
Public at the end of your press conference. Yeah, weird look for sure. Either way, back to Mercer. It is a tough look. Like, I think he's in like the Leo Carlson tier of streamers for the week, right? Carlson's got 3 off nights this week as well, 1 less game played. So if you can get Mercer on the Saturday, then maybe that's still a little bit better. But yeah, it's definitely in that range where you're like, yeah, this is kind of who we're dealing with. This is it's a 14 team league or something like that. And this is kind of the range that we're dealing with this time of year. I think you can make the play, but it's definitely not one I feel like super strongly about by any stretch. Back to Montreal, we talked about Dvorak and Laine filling the opponent's net, but Mike Matheson has been unable to get in on any of that, despite skating over 26 minutes a night. He has 0 points in his last 5. 18th shots per 60, so the shots are there, but on the season, just pacing for 36 points this year. Big letdown from Matheson, obviously off the top power play with Lane Hudson in town, but we kind of felt that Matheson, with this kind of deployment, should have been able to get in on something. Now, the case here is that Montreal has those 4 games, 2 off nights this week, 4 games, 1 off night next week. So probably you're getting a really solid run of games played from Matheson.
Yep.
He's getting shots, he's getting opportunity. He just cannot get any actual production. So, what do you feel about Matheson at this point? What kind of player would it take? Like, Tony DeAngelo's out there. Are you dropping Mike Matheson to go get Tony DeAngelo? You don't get any extra games played, let's say, just the 4 games for both. But is that an ad worth making in your mind, or is that a case where you just use that ad somewhere else?
That's an interesting question. I think because the games played is the same, I'd probably hold Matheson, but it's absolutely comparable. I think Tony DeAngelo has already shown that he's probably a better bet for some offense. So
Yeah.
it makes sense, but I think I would look at another player to drop, maybe a 3-game player that I could drop and pick up Tony D, right? I think with the schedule that Montreal has, Mike Matheson is probably a hold, but this is all it's just strictly like real hockey stuff, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Matheson is playing a role for this team here. He obviously his deep partner is Lane Hudson, who's a pretty elite offensive talent, and he's going to be. And Matheson holds down the fort. And anyone who's played hockey, that if you're playing D and your partner likes to join the rush every single time, you're staying back, right? And Matheson has been that for this team, and he's been really good at it. Like even simple things like plus minus. I look at his plus minus this year. He's -5, whereas last year he was -24. And he had a great season offensively, but he's just playing a different role here, and they need him to, and that's not going to change. The only way Matheson gets any fantasy relevance here or a boost is if Hudson gets injured, right? Then Matheson's the guy, and we've seen that before. Like you and I both projected him pretty healthily, right? Like I think I had him for 60 points. Damn it! I mean, that's I'm going to take a bath on that one. He's pacing for 35 right now, and that's generous. It just hasn't been that kind of year for Matheson, but to me, he's an amazing player. You look at Montreal; they're in the playoff picture right now, and that doesn't happen without Mike Matheson, the professor. But for fantasy, buddy, this really stinks. All right, this is terrible. But live and learn. I think that's a good data point. When we've got some up and coming players, like I don't know if we could have called this right. I really did think that Matheson had one more year of being the guy, while Lane Hudson kind of eased into NHL life, but they sort of threw him the keys, and Hudson has been better defensively than I think people thought. So yeah, long story short, Matheson, you're holding, but this is one of those guys where he's like an Ekholm kind of player, or like
Mm-hmm.
where he's just chipping away with his periffs. Maybe he'll get an assist here and there, but I'm not expecting a bunch of production from him. I'm counting more on the accumulation of the other stats that he gets in points leagues.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good look. Just a quick correction there. The last little bit, Matheson, I don't honestly know how far back it's going, but Matheson has been playing with Carrier,
Okay.
and Hudson's been playing with Struble. But yeah, they're obviously using Matheson Carrier as like the shutdown pair, quote unquote shutdown pair, letting them eat some of the big minutes so that Hudson gets. I think sheltered a bit. Like, yeah, Hudson and Struble got eaten alive against Colorado in the last game here at even strength, whereas Matheson and Carrier carried their minutes pretty well. So I think they're just, yeah, like you said, using Matheson in a very different role, and that is holding down his offense. He's being asked to just do something different than he was last year at even strength, not even just the lack of power play, but at even strength, just to play a different role, and he's doing it quite well. So it's kudos to Mike Matheson, the NHL player. It's not so great for Mike Matheson, the fantasy asset. So
Why are you correcting me, Nate? What are you doing? All right, we're on the same team. Damn it, do it offline. All right, geez, that's fine. Let's move on.
all right, Mikko Rantanen next up. This one hurt me personally. One of the reasons that I will not be moving on in the Experts League. Just 1 assist in his last 5 games. I think he scored 4.75 kickoff full points this week. Yeah, just brutal stuff from Mikko Rantanen. Honestly, he has not been himself since going to Carolina. You have to wonder if it's just the mental aspect of unexpectedly being traded and then having to deal with being traded again and signing a new deal and trying to make a good impression and get settled in a new place. And it's just all a bit much. 19 minutes a night there. in Dallas, 173rd shots per 60, 97th individual scoring chances for per 60, but 246th Corsi for per 60, 175 on ice scoring chances for per
Yeah, it's
60.
not good.
It's just not a great look. And, the minutes are pretty far down from what he was used to in Colorado. Similar to Carolina, Dallas doesn't play their top guys 20 plus minutes a night. So it is a worse look for Rantanen all around. Like, even if you can say that in terms of quality of, the top power play unit that he's on, in terms of the quality of playing with Jason Robertson instead of Nathan McKinnon, like, you can't beat playing with Nathan McKinnon, but Jason Robertson, Rupe Hintz, Thomas Harley, like, these are not bad players to be playing your hockey alongside.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's a tough look for Rantanen. I do expect. I think it's actually kind of similar to what we said when he went to Carolina. Is just reduced minutes, reduced opportunity, and I do think that he's a bit more of a 90-point player now than a 100-plus point player that he was in Colorado. I mean, you're not doing anything with Rantanen, right? Like, you're not going to go out and
Yeah.
drop him. Dallas has a great schedule this week, so there's no reason to be doing anything rash with Rantanen. It's just really disappointing, quite honestly. I think I just needed the second here to vent about Rantanen more than anything. You got anything you want to say about this guy?
Not much, but yeah, if you look at it, if you zoom out a bit here with some perspective, he's played for 3 teams this year. And when he was with Colorado, he was a key figure. He was a cog in that wheel of offense that was insane. So to go to 2 teams that play an extremely different style, and he's got different players like this, there's way too much variance to sort of count on anything that Rantanen is doing. And that's just unfortunate. That's just bad luck. If you drafted Rantanen in your fantasy hockey team, like, it's just bad luck. But that said, too, like, I think he'll be fine moving forward, right? We should probably see point per game Rantanen moving forward. I think that's reasonable. But what about next year? Like, where do you see Rantanen being drafted in next year? Because this is a perennial first-round player when he was with Colorado, and that's 100-point Rantanen. Now you're saying 90-point Rantanen, Nate, which I agree with. Like, where do you think that this guy falls, and is he going to be a value in drafts next season?
I think he will fall in drafts next year. He'll probably be more a 1-2 turn kind of player in a lot of spots. I'm trying to think who will actually leapfrog him. Maybe there's just not enough players who have elevated enough to actually get over top of him to make that happen. But yeah, I think he probably falls a little bit from where he was drafted this year. But I don't think it'll be enough, honestly, to where I'll be super in on Rantanen. But it will be interesting to watch for sure to see what the consensus opinion is out there on him. All right, lastly here, Mika Zibanejad was super hot when JT Miller came to town. It was the talk of the town that JT Miller had revitalized Mika Zibanejad and everything was going to be terrific from here on out. Then all of a sudden, you look up and Zibanejad has just 1 assist, no goals in his last 5, still playing 20 plus minutes a night, 229th shots per 60, 234th individual scoring chances for per 60, 138 Corsi for per 60, 215 in on ice scoring chances for per 60. They have tried everything in New York. They tried mixing up the lines here. Zibanejad was playing with Kreider and Cooley against the Canucks. Yeah, like, that is one way that they could go with it, but it's not a particularly enticing way for Mika Zibanejad owners. Now, the really tough spot here for the Rangers is the schedule, right? So they play Tuesday, Friday, Saturday this week, only 3 games. And then if you get beyond that, they only play 2 games with 1 off night in week 24. Is there a universe in which you are dropping Mika Zibanejad this week?
Yeah, absolutely. There is. I think we like, obviously, we get ruthless with anybody, but Zibby has shown nothing this season. He's a streaky player in general, but this whole season feels like it's been a downturn. He had one little section there, like you said, when JT Miller arrived, and it looked like, yeah, maybe Mika Zibanejad was back, but I mean, it's been gross, right? His metrics are down, 5-on-5, shots to go per 60 down, scoring chances for a little bit down. And obviously, like, his line just isn't doing the thing. The on-ice shooting percentage, the lowest it's been in, oh man, how many seasons? Like 7 seasons or something like that, just at 5-on-5. So I don't know. With the Rangers schedule, I think this is a bubble player at this point. Like, what are we hoping for? That he's going to go out and dominate the way he has in the past? I don't even know that he's a point per game player rest of season. You know, I feel like the Rangers, the vibes are still stinky there. Like they put a Band-Aid on when they got JT Miller and they got a little bit of a boost, but you know, it seems to me that they're sort of kind of sagging a little bit more, and they're really relying on Igor Shesterkin to win them some games. So yeah, long story short, again, I think I'm happy to drop Zibby if it makes sense for your team. I'm not actively looking to drop him, but it's definitely not a guy that to me is must roster. Like he plays, the Rangers play Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. Like I don't know. Like maybe you drop him after Tuesday if you need games, but I don't know. What are you doing with Zibby?
Yeah, I mean, I don't roster Zibanejad anywhere. He's never really
You traded him to
shown out
me.
well.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah,
Nate kept him in a league, folks. So he's talking Yang here. That's I don't
I
know where I'm going with that.
not this year, but
No.
yeah, it's just not a spot where I think that Zibanejad is like this is a guy on a 17 goal, 56 point pace on the season. Like,
Yeah.
are we really expecting that something really new and special is going to happen? The metrics look bad on the season. They look worse in the last 5 games. The schedule is not in his favor. He has now lost the line mate that we thought was going to revitalize his season. I just don't know what we're expecting is going to change here. Like, it's a volume play basically at this point. The 20
Yeah.
minutes a night, that's what you're hoping to get out of Mika Zibanejad, and they just brute forces his way into a few points for you. But the expectations cannot be super high here. The one thing that's working in his favor right now, Friday, Saturday, back to back against Anaheim and San Jose, that looks a little bit cushy. That could be a spot where you might be able to get some points out of Zibanejad, but
Yep.
I imagine he scores 0 points in those 2 games. Yeah, it's going to be curtains on the season for him for fantasy in my eyes. All right, Blake, let's move along to Would You Rather and let's talk about Mika Zibanejad. First, before that we do that, I should say, if we didn't talk about a player that you want to hear about, make sure you join me Monday, 8 p.m. EST. Every single week, I do the live stream, Puzzling Players. Talk to me about who is the most puzzling. Is it Mika Zibanejad for you? We can talk about it there on the live stream. Join me. All right, Blake. Top of the
Love that.
list, Mika Zibanejad here. Then I'm going to compare him to a couple of guys who have great schedules this week. Marco Rossi, Nick Schmaltz. You got to make a decision today for the week. Mika Zibanejad, Marco Rossi, Nick Schmaltz, go.
Schmaltz. Give me Schmaltzy. I'm gonna roll. Like I think I love the way they're playing. Obviously, they've got something to play for. Vibes are good in Utah. Obviously, you know, like we've talked about, they hemorrhage some scoring chances and they get into some run and gun stuff, but that's fine for fantasy. I'm happy to do it. I think I'd probably go. Oof, I don't know. Yeah, Schmaltz. And it's tough between Rossi and Zibanejad. Rossi's strictly a schedule play, whereas Zibanejad has the ceiling. I might go Schmaltz, Zibanejad, Rossi. That's sort of how I would go. But obviously, Minnesota has an amazing schedule in week 24. So, you know, if it's week 24, I'm going Rossi. But for this upcoming week, I think I'd roll with Zibanejad over Rossi. But I'm taking Schmaltz.
Yeah, Schmaltz is the correct answer for sure. I don't think that's debatable at this point. The question between Rossi and Zibanejad, like, I guess if you're getting it depends, I guess, which games you can get. If you get the same amount of games between Rossi and Zibanejad, then it's more of a conversation. But I mean, Rossi has better deployment straight up. He's playing with Boldy and Zuccarello in the last game, also playing on the top power play. Uh, I I think I would take Rossi. I think I'd do it tomorrow if I had to. So I think I would go Schmaltz, Rossi, Zibanejad personally. Next up at left wing, we got Carter Verhaeghe. He of the famous 2 games, 2 off nights, nothing till Friday this week. Patrick Laine, who we talked about, and Ryan Donato. Now, this is a little bit interesting. You got a bit of a different look here in terms of the schedules for this week. We are at this point in the season, as we've discussed many times, this is the time of year where really this is the only week that matters. And yeah, it's nice if you get the bonus for next week. You can use that maybe as a tiebreaker if you're absolutely torn.
Mm-hmm.
But realistically, we're only looking at this week. Verhaeghe only doesn't play a game until Friday, gets the Friday, Sunday off nights, so you get that. You got Patrick Laine, who gets you Friday, Sunday off nights, but also might get into a game for you on Tuesday or Thursday, which are heavy nights this week. Then Ryan Donato, who plays all on the off nights, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. What's your flavor here, Blake?
What's your flavor, sir? Oh man, I don't even know. This is a tough one for sure. You know, based on everything you just said there. I mean, you know, we're dumbing it down a little bit just because we have three and we don't have any context here. Like I have Verhaeghe and I had Donato on a team, right? And I dropped Donato. I didn't drop Verhaeghe. But oh god, I mean, I'm trying to hold on to Verhaeghe based on everything that we've said here. I think this upcoming week, I'm gonna stick with Verhaeghe. I'm gonna go Donato next, and then I'm gonna go Patrick Laine. That's what I'm rolling. But I think you could just as easily go Donato over Verhaeghe over Laine.
Yeah, for myself, I go Donato first. 10 shots in his last 2 games here. Played with Connor Bedard at even strength and on the top power play in the game against Philadelphia today. Yeah, that'd be the route for me. You get all 3 off nights, no question. Laine, I feel like, could have a big week, but it could also just completely disappear for another week. So that's a bit of a risky proposition. And Verhaeghe, like, I just can't wait till Friday for a guy who's as cold as Verhaeghe is at the
Yeah,
moment. I
totally
just can't do
reasonable.
it. So maybe it's not exactly these 3 players that you're deciding between. Maybe there is something you can do early week and then still try to get Verhaeghe back for the late week. That is still something you might be able to swing. But as this current Would You Rather is constructed, I would go Donato, then I'd go Laine, then I would go Verhaeghe.
I'm going down with the ship, Nate. That's how
All
we do
right.
it here.
Moving over to right wing, we got Kyle Palmieri, Ryan Hartman, Troy Terry for the week. Palmieri has the 3 off nights with another game in there as well for a total of 4 on the week. Hartman also plays 4 games. I think it's only 1 off night for Minnesota this week. Yep. But obviously, if you get to week 24, you get the 4 games, 4 off nights. And then Troy Terry, we know what Troy Terry is all about. 3 games, 3 off nights this week for Anaheim as well. If you make it to week 24, 3 games, 0 off nights there. What's your flavor here, Blake?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I think I'm just looking at this week in particular. I think I'm going Palmieri. I would go Palmieri, probably Hartman, and then Terry. And that's not saying that that's the best player. I think that's the best play for your upcoming week here. Where Troy Terry is the best player. There's no question. But I think that they are comparable, and an extra game of Palmieri and Hartman is going to make a difference. So yeah, I'm going Palmieri, Hartman, Terry, book it.
Yeah, I think if you can get the extra game of Palmieri on the heavy night, then I would go Palmieri. If it's a tie between Palmieri and Terry in terms of what games you're actually going to get them in for, then I think I would go Terry. Terry's 16th in the league in shots
Yeah,
per
that's
60
nice to
over the
see.
last 5 games, played over 21 minutes in this game here today against Carolina. Had 6 shots. I like what I'm seeing out of Troy Terry, especially at the moment. So I think I would go Terry first in that regard. Then I think Palmieri, and then I think Hartman last. Defense, throwing this out there. Noah Hannafin, as we talked about, Shea Theodore, we think maybe back this week. We don't really have anything conclusive to say there, but based on timelines, we assume that he should be back sooner rather than later. Justin Falk, Matthias Ekholm. Knowing what we know now, Blake, who would you go with here?
I mean, I think Hannafin makes the most sense in a way, but if Theodore's back, like, yeah, what are we doing? He's going to get nuked. So I think I'd roll with Ekholm here, which is an interesting play. I mean, he's had a bit of a down season. Now, plus, we got Wallman in town here, but Wallman hasn't really affected Ekholm's deployment, and he's actually put some points on the board. So I think I would go Ekholm, Hannafin, Falk, and that's assuming Hannafin gets, let's say, power play 2. I think I would still take him over Justin Falk. So I go Ekholm, Hannafin, Falk.
I'd agree Ekholm at the top of the list here. I think that makes the most sense, but I think I would take Falk over Hannafin. Hannafin was an absolute nothing burger for the vast majority of the year before getting power play 1, and even then he wasn't like
Mhm.
otherworldly. You
Yeah,
saw the way Thomas Harley took the reins in Dallas. Hannafin has been like a
he didn't
quarter
do
of
that.
that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the way I would go. I would take Falk there. He's had a resurgence alongside these guys in St. Louis who've been scoring. Falk has 2 goals and 7 points in his last 5 games. We could have easily thrown him in there when talking about the St. Louis squad. So I think I would go that route personally. All right, and last up here, we got to talk about some goaltenders. Tristan Jarry, Jake Allen, Spencer Knight. You're probably getting a couple of starts out of each of these guys this week, so it is a bit of a
Oh
pick your
God,
flavor here.
painful.
Yeah, but this is the spot that a lot of people are in this week. Jake Allen has actually been playing pretty well over the last stretch of play and really sharing starts with Markstrom there, which was
Mhm.
not a thing that most people thought was going to happen.
Right.
In the last game, he did lose to Ottawa 3-2. It was 3 goals against on 19 shots, but before that, he had a really stellar game against Columbus, just 1 goal against and 45 saves. The game before that wins with 2 goals against on 33 shots, and the game before that wins with only 1 goal against on 24 shots. So, yeah, just prior to that one game, which wasn't a terrible game, but it
Yeah.
wasn't the best showing for fantasy at least. Jake Allen was on a bit of a bender. We know what Tristan Jarry's been doing as of late. Spencer Knight seems to be taking the reins there in Chicago. Gets another win here today against Philadelphia. Who would you rather?
Yeah, this one it's actually not that hard for me. I think Jari to me is the answer because I think there's a chance he might play all three games. They've
Hmm.
shown that they'll go to him, right? And for long stretches. Whereas and they've also talked about how good of a teammate Nedeljkovic is. He's such a good teammate. He just watches this guy who spent the season in the minors come up and take all his starts. But yeah, I think I like the way Pittsburgh's. Well, I don't want to oversell it, but yeah, they're playing all right, and Jari certainly has been playing well as of late. So I'll take Jari there, then Allen, then Spencer Knight. I like Spencer Knight better than Allen as a goaltender, but it's New Jersey versus Chicago.
Mhm.
That's more my speed there. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. What are you doing, Nate?
I think for myself, I'm kind of leaning towards taking Jake Allen here. The way I'm reading the tea leaves at the moment, if they continue to go with this every other schedule that they've been going with for the last bit, that would mean that Markstrom gets Vancouver on Monday. That would leave Allen to go against Chicago on Wednesday, which is obviously a plus
Yep.
matchup. Then I think they'd go with Markstrom against Winnipeg on Friday, leaving Allen Minnesota on Saturday, which isn't a terribly tough offensive matchup most of the time these
Mm-hmm.
days.
Yep.
So I think I kind of like that. Obviously, that's projecting a lot, and there's a lot that could happen between now and then that may not come true. But I mean, Chicago plays New Jersey, Vegas, Utah. Vegas and Utah, particularly, two teams that can put it in the net a fair bit. New Jersey's not a terrible team, even with the losses they've sustained.
Yep.
And then you got Pittsburgh, which is just a team that I don't want to bet on, basically. I also think that it's a bit more likely that Nedeljkovic has worked his way into at least one of these starts with the performance he had against Columbus the other night. He allowed 3 goals, but made a ton of really good saves. And yeah, the announcers at least were loving it. So there is that. And also, Pittsburgh does play against Tampa to start the week, which could be a tough look if Jari gets that one. So that's the way I would go. I'd go Allen, then I would go Jari, then I would go Knight personally. All right. Last bit of business under the hood. I do want to talk about Carter Verhaeghe. Last 10 games. This I did take, I should say, before the Sunday game here today. So I'll take that into account. But just 1 goal, 1 assist in the last 10 games before the game here Sunday. 16:46 average time on ice. 19th shots per 60. 11th individual scoring chances 4 per 60. Second in on ice Corsi 4 per 60. Third in on ice scoring chances 4 per 60. This is the unluckiest player in the entire NHL this year, bar none. On the season, Carter Verhaeghe has played an average of 18 minutes a night, ranks 17th in shots per 60, 6th in individual scoring chances 4 per 60, second in on ice Corsi 4 per 60, and 5th in on ice scoring chances 4 per 60. He has a 56% IPP, 7.9% shooting percentage, and 9.7% on ice shooting percentage. I like this is one for the ages in terms
Yeah.
of how unlucky Verhaeghe has been this year. He easily deserves, just based on the metrics and just going back to what he's done in previous season, he easily deserves another 20 points at least on top of this. Like here are his shooting percentages since entering the league: 15.8%, 16.8%, 14.4%, 15.3%, 13.8%, and then this season 7.9%. It's pretty easy to point out the outlier in that regard. The underlying numbers are all well within the range of his previous seasons. The last 2 seasons before this, 73% IPP, 64% IPP, now down to 56% IPP. That's coming back. The on ice stuff is right in line with what he had done in previous seasons. But yeah, this on ice shooting percentage, 11.6% last year, 9.7% this year. Again, I just think this is kind of an unbelievable bad run of luck for Verhaeghe, and I'm very, very hopeful that we will get a massive discount on Verhage come drafts next year. All right. I guess that wasn't technically the last bit of business because we do have to recap the head-to-head streamer deathmatch. And it's a good one. Again, Blake, for some reason, took Mackie Simiskevich with only 3 games this week. Simiskevich didn't play badly, 12.25 couple points this week, but I took Morgan Geeky, and that was the correct answer. Geeky, before this game that's currently ongoing, had 16.5 couple points, and he scored
Yeah, you got a
a
goal.
goal in this game. So, yeah, I think it's we can wrap it up at this point. It is a win for me. Another win in the column. That's back-to-back wins now. I'm coming for double digits. That's what I've got. 2 more weeks here, right? Uh, no, I've got 3 more weeks here. I can get to double digits. I can make this look respectable in the box score at the end of the season. That's what we're going for at the end of it here. I get to make the first pick for this upcoming week, week 23, and so I have gone for my under 25% rostered player with Kyle Palmieri. Blake, I kick it to you. Who you got?
I'm going big pimpin' Jay-Z, Jason Zucker. Yeah, that power play one beauty, that beefer, that legend. And buddy, there's no chance you're getting to double digits. Book it, all right? Over my, very sad body, all right? That's what's happening, okay?
All right. Well, if you made it this far, you should click the link in the description, join the Discord community, come commiserate if you've lost your playoffs. We will definitely do that with you. If you're winning and you just want to gloat, this is also the place where that is encouraged. While you're here, like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, whatever you can do really does help us out. But that's going to be all that we've got for this episode. Hopefully it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick, terrific free resource. Many thanks to the band there for supplying the music for the podcast. Be sure to check out their Spotify as well. And that's it, folks. Much love.